and welcome to the session Fundamentals of Multimedia. Today we'll be discussing hypertext definition, evolution and characteristics. Hypertext. Over the past couple decades, as the term hypertext has gained a certain popular currency, a question has been raised repeatedly. What is hypertext? How can we answer this question? Many scholars offer answers that span a wide range. Unlike the typical printed book, which is read sequentially from beginning to end, hypertext is inherently nonlinear. It is comprised of many interlinked chunks of self-contained text. Readers are not bound to a particular sequence but can browse through information intuitively by association, following their interests by following a highlighted keyword or phrase in one piece of text to bring up another associated piece of text. What makes hypertext different and what sets it apart from the most conceptually interlinked paper document is that in hypertext the links are active. They are hotspots that when touched cause something to happen. When the reader selects a hypertext link, the movement between the two nodes takes place automatically. Hypertext is a very different way of presenting information than the usual linear form. Text no longer flows in a straight line through a book. Instead, it is broken down into many smaller units, each addressing a few issues. The fragmentation of what might have been a single huge document allows the author to experiment with a wider variety of links. The author gives more control to readers, allowing them to find their own paths through a jungle of information. If authors design links intelligently, readers shouldn't get lost, though they might have no idea of their precise location at any given moment. It is similar to reading an encyclopedia, jumping from keyword to entry to the next keyword. Conceptually at least, hypermedia is no different from hypertext. The term hypermedia is a more general term than hypertext and suggests that links exist to information held on different media. Example, video, CD and so forth. Both terms refer to a system of linked information. We will therefore use the term hypertext to refer to any document with such properties irrespective of the media which contain it. In the same way that the general term a text refers to documents which may also contain graphics, so we shall use a hypertext as a generic term to denote a document which may in fact be distributed across several media. Now, why is hypertext important? There are many developments taking place in research laboratories each year, so why hypertext should be seen as important enough to merit the attention it is receiving? Its importance is based on the fact that it offers a very powerful way of organizing and accessing information and hence has a potential role to play in the development of information technology, which in turn is shaping the society in which we live in. Hypertext's importance resides in the fact that it may alter the way in which we read, write and organize information. Any powerful information access and retrieval mechanism will have potentially wide-ranging effects and these will extend beyond places. Now, let us look at the evolution of hypertext. Hypertext has a surprisingly rich history compared to most phenomena in the personal computer industry, especially considering that most people had not heard of it until a few years ago. The major events in its evolution are discussed in more detail here. The story of hypertext begins in 1945 with the proposal of the MEMEX system by Vannevar Bush in an essay entitled As We May Think. In this essay, he proposes a method of storage and retrieval that is meant to allow academics and professionals to take optimum advantage of new information. Instead of using books, Bush envisions a microfilm system that indexes the info using associative links much the same way that the World Wide Web links information today. Bush was well ahead of his time, writing in an era before computers were taken into consideration. However, the modern story of hypertext starts with the Memex because, as we may think, directly influenced and inspired the two American men generally credited with the invention of hypertext, Ted Nelson and Douglas Engelbart. Hypertext, the term, was coined by Ted Nelson. Hypertext can develop very complex and dynamic systems of linking and cross-referencing. The most famous implementation of hypertext is the World Wide Web, WWW. Now, let's look into World Wide Web and hypertext. World Wide Web, by name the web, the leading information retrieval service of the Internet, gives users access to a vast range of documents that are connected to each other by means of hypertext or hypermedia links. The evolution of the World Wide Web was begun in 1989 by Tim Berners-Lee and his fellow workers at CERN, an international scientific organization founded in Geneva, Switzerland. They created Hypertext Transfer Protocol, that is HTTP, which standardized communication between servers and clients. The web operates within the Internet's basic client server format. Servers are computer programs that store and transmit documents to other computers on the network when asked to. Clients are programs that request documents from a server as the user asks for them. Browser software allows users to view the retrieved documents. Hypertext allows the user to choose a word from the text and thereby access other documents that incorporate additional data relating to that word. A hypertext document with its corresponding text and hyperlinks is written in hypertext markup language, that is HTML, and is assigned an online address called a Uniform Resource Locator or URL. Now let us look at what linearity is. A consideration of the physical characteristics of writing has led many people to the firm opinion that written texts are inherently linear and therefore constrained in the way that they can represent knowledge. Linguistics differentiates human languages from other science systems because they are linear, arbitrary, segmented, and systematic. The arrival of hypertext with its non-linear, modular, semantic structure has encouraged many proponents to claim that this new medium can loosen constraints on the way ideas are presented, accessed, and even conceived. Widespread hypertext representation may herald an era of pluralistic rather than linear thought. However, while hypertext might seem to represent a radical change in medium, it is not likely to result in a revolution in thought. It is a comparatively trivial change compared to the advent of popular literacy. Although hypertext differs significantly from printed text in its arbitrary structure, it shares many similarities for the reader. Hypertexts, despite their node and link structure, are still composed of units of text, and there is no reason to believe that, at the paragraph level at least, these are read any differently from units of conventional paper or other electronic text. The contrast is even stronger for the reader who experiences a printed text in much the same way on every occasion, while the electronic text is constantly changing before his eyes. This impression is strongest with scrolling displays but is still true of page displays unless the screen refresh is almost instantaneous. In addition, every text displayed on a given display system is likely to look the same since a common font or restricted range of fonts will probably be used for all. Hypertext compounds this weakening by allowing readers to either jump from text to text with ease or by presenting texts which are composed largely of inclusions from other documents. However, Hypertext could be much more superior an access mechanism for today's text-based databases. In a multimedia guise within a teaching-learning context, it offers much better ways of presenting information compared to traditional printed texts. Consider the advantages of being able to build multimedia hypertext for schools and students, which include video and sound as well as text and graphics. Next is hypertext links. The tree-like structure of hyperlinked information contrasts with the linear structure of a print media. Hypertext links are, in a sense, text cross-references that afford instant access to their target pieces of information. Such links are most effective when used on a large array of information that is organized into many smaller related pieces and when the user requires only a small portion of information at any one time. Two catchwords used often in hypertext systems are link and node. Links are connections between the conceptual elements, and the nodes consist of text, graphics, sounds, or related information in the knowledge base. The art of hypermedia design lies in the visualization of these nodes and their links so that they make sense and can form the backbone of a knowledge access system. Along with the use of HTML for the World Wide Web, the term anchor is used for the reference from one document to another document, image, sound, or file on the web. Links are the navigation pathways and menus. Nodes are accessible topics, documents, messages, and content elements. A link anchor is where you come from. A link end is the destination node linked to the anchor. Some hypertext systems provide unidirectional navigation and offer no return pathway. Others are bidirectional. The simplest way to navigate hypermedia structures is via buttons that let you access linked information that is contained at the nodes. When you have finished examining the information, you return to your starting location. Now, let us look at hypertext usability, users, tasks, and information. We said that when talking about hypertext, we are referring to people using information to perform some task. These concepts will be discussed further here as we look at some attributes of the user, information, and task that can guide us in the design and role of usable hypertext applications. It is important to understand from the outset, therefore, that when discussing hypertext, we do not seek simplistic answers to questions such as, is hypertext better than paper? Or do people learn more from hypertext systems than standard text? To understand the usability issues underlying hypertext, one needs to conceptualize the system in terms of three factors: the users, their tasks, and the information space in which the task is being performed. Now, let us look at them one by one. Users. Users are people. They have skills, habits, motivations, intelligence, intentions, and a whole host of other attributes that they bring into the computer when using hypertext. The rapid development of information technology over the last decade or so means that to some extent we are all users, even if we are unaware of it. And contemporary thinking rightly stresses that technology should be designed with users' needs in mind. In the hypertext domain, it is likely that potential users will come from all walks of life and age groups. Hypertext applications will not exist only in libraries, schools, or offices, but will also be found in museums. Example, Hypertext. Tourist information centers, example, Glasgow Online, and eventually at home. Now, information. The information that users deal with when interacting with contemporary computer systems, which varies tremendously. With hypertext, such variation is equally apparent. In fact, there is no reason why any information could not be presented in hypertext form. Rather, the question is looking at the second element of our triumvirate. What sort of information would benefit from such presentation? The term user is relatively self-explanatory, but information space is a more vague term by which is meant the document, database, text, etc. on which the user works. This information space varies tremendously and can be shown to interact with both users and tasks. That is, people utilize information differently depending on its type, their experience and what they want from it. Next is the tasks. Just as users and information vary, so too do the tasks that can be performed on computers. Software is or should be designed with specific tasks in mind which it will support. Example, desktop publishing, database management, process control, statistical analysis and so forth. The tasks that can be performed with documents are extremely variable. People read text for pleasure, to solve problems, to stimulate ideas or to monitor developments, for example. Yet, such interactions vary tremendously in terms of time, effort and skill involved that when we consider the development of a new information presentation medium, we must determine the nature of the tasks it is intended to support if we are to avoid broad phrases or claims such as hypermedia is better than paper. In short, when we consider users, information and tasks, we draw the conclusion that different implementations of the hypertext concept will be required in different domains. Now, let us look at creating a hypertext. There are two basic routes to creating hypertext: conversion of an existing text and direct origination of a new hypertext. First one, the conversion of text into hypertext. The possible reasons why a text may be considered suitable for conversion to hypertext format include all those which apply to the creation of basic electronic text. The advantages of electronic formats are most clearly seen in the improved access that they offer to text. Thus, for example, many readers can access the same text immediately and simultaneously via a network. Lengthy text can be readily searched, edited and incorporated into new documents if desired, and version control can be managed with greater efficiency so that all readers can be confident that they are reading the most recent version of the text. A hypertext implementation not only enjoys all the above advantages but also offers the increased convenience afforded by the dynamic linking of the constituent elements and a greatly increased flexibility of design. Next is the creation of original hypertext. Writing directly in hypertext enables completely new text structures to be considered by the author, and the design problems raised by these possibilities are generally seen as the main issues in the creation of hypertext. The design of any non-fiction text can be seen as reflecting the interaction of two, that is text, task and user as we discussed earlier, and contemporary readers are sophisticated enough to readily accept a whole range of text types. Hypertext certainly places new burdens on the author. No matter how badly it is written, every part of a book is accessible to the reader simply by turning the pages. A badly authored hypertext is far more restrictive when the reader can only follow the links provided by the author. Even if readers are given facilities to add new links, they must still be able to access all parts, otherwise, how are they to know that they want to add a link? With the lack of existing ordering tools, it is still relatively easy for the author to leave sections completely unlinked, that is information islands, or to leave links dangling. Nor is it sufficient to link everything to everything else. The resultant spaghetti does not help the reader in any way. One role of the author is to simplify material for the reader, to structure material in order that it can be grasped. In paper, several familiar structures exist which aid both the reader and the author. For example, The author of a journal article has a structure prescribed by the particular journal, and this removes the need for authors to make structural decisions. The hypertext author does not have such traditions on which to rely and consequently must give much more thought to the structure of the hypertext if it is to support the reader's tasks. Now let us look at hypertext claims. As with any new technology, many claims have been made about the potentialities of hypertext and the effect which it will have. For example, it has been variously claimed that hypertext will change the way we read, learn and think. But can such claims be taken seriously? Let's look at the way we read. Paper is usually portrayed as being essentially linear, and proponents of this claim usually make the assumption that reading follows this linearity. For example, readers access most text in serial order. Similarly, if we observe reading behavior, it is only at the obvious low level that it is tied to the serial nature of the print on page. Skilled readers have developed reading strategies which allow them to interact with a paper document in a rapid and flexible way. Furthermore, they have developed these strategies through experience with structured documents. To the extent that hypertext supports existing strategies, then it will not change the way we read. However, to the extent that new document structures are developed, readers will need to develop new reading strategies. Such strategies will develop as a result of experience with the new medium in the same way that the existing strategies developed with the paper medium. In this sense, then hypertext may change the way we read, but only if novel structures are found to be useful in supporting certain tasks. Now, the way we learn. Evaluating learning in hypertext is dogged by difficulties, many of which stem from the general problems involved in evaluating learning. A hypertext environment may be superior because it allows for different levels of prior knowledge, encourages exploration, enables subjects to see a subtask as part of the whole task, and allows subjects to adapt material to their own learning style. More incidental learning, the kind that takes place along the way rather than on purpose, would occur in a hypertext environment. Hypertexts reflect the advantage not so much of non-linear environments, but rather of giving the learner some degree of control over the learning environment. Next, the way we think. Education attempts to produce a pluralistic, non-linear style of thinking by using linear modes of communication, presentation, and instruction. The hypertext offers a solution to this paradox insofar as it can be used as an educational tool for promoting non-linear thought. Whether or not hypertext changes the way we think remains to be seen. Now, let us summarize this session. This session suggests that the significance of hypertext can only be assessed by way of an appreciation of the definition and the historical development of text systems. We feel that this perspective clearly reveals some popular conceptions concerning the linearity of traditional text structures to be largely misconceived, and this in turn brings into question some of the alleged advantages claimed for hypertext. It brings forth the idea that users, tasks, and text vary tremendously, and only by understanding the interaction of these three aspects of document usage can real progress be made. It also gives a clear picture on how to create a hypertext. Now, there are some assignments for you based on this session. Discuss in detail the process of hypertext creation. Next, elucidate the evolution of hypertext. Third, what are the scope and potentialities of hypertext? Fourth, how can we convert a normal text into hypertext? Fifth, enumerate the important interaction variables for hypertext. Now, I can suggest some references and web links based on this session. Hypertext State of the Art, edited by C. Green and R. Ellis in 1990, published by Oxford Intellect. Hypertext in Context, written by J. Richardson, A. Dillon, and C. McKnight in 1991, published by Cambridge University Press, Cambridge. Hypertext and Hypermedia, written by J. Nielsen in 1990, published by Academic Press, San Diego, CA. Designing Hypermedia for Learning, edited by H. Mandel and D. H. Jonasson in 1990, published by Springer Verlag, Heidelberg. As We May Think, written by V. Bush in 1945, published by Atlantic Monthly. Visual Display Terminals, written by T. F. M. Stewart, D. J. Hart, and A. Kacker in 1980, published by John Wiley and Sons, Chichester. Web links: www.webopedia.com, www.merriam-webster.com, info.cern.ch/www/terms.html. Thank you for watching this session. Hope this was useful to you. Bye.